Hello everyone, my name is Matthew and welcome to this Zendesk Salesforce integration tutorial with Excelate. In this video, I will integrate Zendesk and Salesforce. Zendesk is built on a decentralized architecture, which comes with a lot of security advantages. To start the integration process, we need to install Excelate on both sides, and I will drop the installation videos in the description. I will start by creating a case on the Salesforce side, and then you will see that right now there is no integration setup, so we will really start this video from zero. So I'm going to say here a new case on 29th of July, information in the description. All right, I'm creating this case, and you see when I will refresh Zendesk that this case will not appear in Zendesk. So this is why we will integrate these instances. So as long as we have installed Excelate on both sides, we can get started. So you are installing a node on each side, and then we will make a connection between these nodes. So you go to connections. To get to these pages is on Salesforce, you go here to the 9 dots, look for Excelate, and on Zendesk, you will find it here on the left side. You initiate the connection from either side, and then you take the destination instance URL and you add it in this text box. Then you select script mode. The basic mode is really for really basic things like the comments and the attachments. The script mode is the full capability of Excelate, and it comes pre-coded, and I will also explain the whole process and how everything works. So you click next, local instance. So you just take a local instance short name, and then you do the same for the remote instance, and then you initiate the connection. You copy the code, and then you can send it to the admin of the other side. So here you can see we can really integrate two different companies. You insert the code, click next, and that's it. So right now we can send this ticket over. There is two ways to do that. Either we manually do it, so we can say Excelate on a ticket and it will be sent over, or we can do that from a ticket on Zendesk. But we can also automate it, which is way more interesting. So if you go to the node from the side where you want to start from, and you click on triggers, you can say, okay, create trigger. You say for which entity type it should apply. And then you can make a query. So let's say every time there is a case and then the company field has Excelate in it, it should sync over. You have this visual interface. We can also use the Salesforce query language if you click on this. Right, if this is true, we will select our connection and we will activate it. Let's create it. So right now this trigger is created. We will work from the moment this trigger was created. If you want to use Excelate for migration purposes and you want to have Excelate iterate over all the cases in the whole instance, because you don't want to update every case, so it gets sent over to Zendesk, you can click on the 3 dots and click on bulk Excelate. It will iterate over the whole instance, and you can synchronize over up to infinite amount of tickets. So this means if we go back to our original case, and here we type Excelate, then it will be picked up with Excelate because it's matching the trigger, and now it will be sent over to Zendesk. Now this is all because we want to start from Salesforce. You can of course also start from Zendesk, and then you would go to Zendesk and create a trigger on Zendesk. So let's go to our Zendesk site and let's find our unsolved tickets, and here we have our case. So this is the exact case that is getting sent over, and if we refresh our Salesforce case, then we see it's synchronized and we have a remote link. So we also have this on Zendesk, so it's really easy to jump between the instances. So right now we know it's bidirectional by default, so I can type a comment, or I can add an attachment. And then automatically it will be synchronized back to Salesforce. So it's bidirectional by default, but in a moment I will dive into the scripts and the backend of the connection. because we can really configure this however we want. If you want it to be unidirectional for some fields, bidirectional for the rest, that's all possible. Let's refresh our case, and then here we see that the comment appeared and also the attachment. So I can go to related and we can see the attachment is here. So it's fully bidirectional. Now let's start playing around with it. So I have two use cases. Let's synchronize over a custom field from Salesforce to Zendesk, and then let's do the status mapping from Zendesk back to Salesforce. So how we do that is we go to our scripts. So we go to the nodes and then click on connections and click here on edit connection. And this is the backend of Exalate for this particular connection. So what is happening here is we have an outgoing sync and an incoming sync. The outgoing sync is responsible of deciding which information should be sent over. So the outgoing sync on Salesforce decides, okay, for the case, what information is getting sent over. So for every entity, these fields are getting taken. We're putting this into a replica copy, like a JSON object, and then this is getting sent over to the incoming sync of the destination site. So in this incoming sync on Zendesk, this replica contains the values of Salesforce, and we are reassigning it to the Zendesk issue. Same thing happens by the vice versa, sorry. On Zendesk, we're deciding in the outgoing sync which information for a case is getting sent over. And then on the incoming sync on Salesforce, we are deciding how this information from the Zendesk case is getting assigned to the Salesforce case, like this. So in our use case example, let's go to our Salesforce, and then here we have some custom fields. For example, here, day of the week. So we take the API name by going to edit object, fields and relationships. And then we find here day of the week. So we just copy this. We go to the outgoing sync and we say replica dot can be anything on the left side, because this is just a variable in the replica. And then this is important that it's exactly the same as the API name. So we publish it. Then here we can say, for example, Thursday. We save it, and now I will show you something really neat. If we go to our case ID and we go to the node, going to the entity sync status, we can see the exact payload of this replica. So we can just insert this, and then we know if the outgoing sync is correct or not. So we can click search, and then we can say show local replica. So right now we can see that this day of the week field is added to the replica, and it's added as well a value. So the only thing we need to do now is going to the incoming sync on the destination side, and then we are going to add it to a field. So we have some dummy code here. So to do a custom field, you just copy this issue.custom field. So now we need to say the name of the Zendesk custom field. So let's take, for example, color. In Zendesk, you just take the display name. So we can here say color, and then replica. So how is it exactly coming over? Replica dot day of the week dot value, just like this. We publish it, and then let's add another update. So we'll say that it's Monday. Save it. And what's going to happen is Exalate is going to redo the outgoing sync, create another replica, and then it's going to get sent over to Zendesk. So if I go to our Zendesk ticket, then here we see right now this is completed and works. So these custom fields are in synchronization. So you can really play around with it. It doesn't matter what type of data field it is. Everything can be configured with Exalate, and the Groovy scripting it's built upon. The other use case we're going to do is the statuses. So again, we need to send them over on the outgoing sync. Luckily, that's already there in default. So the only remaining thing is, let's go to connections, edit connection, incoming sync. So we can see that we are not putting the status yet. So let's do that. So let's remove this status. because we're not going to hard code it, we're going to make it dynamic. And we also have dummy code for the statuses, so not only for custom fields. So it's just necessary to cut that code, paste it here, and then we're going to say, okay, let me just expand it. On the left side, it's what's coming from Zendesk. On the right side, it's what is going to get put in Salesforce. So you can make this as you want. So let's do an example. On Zendesk, we have, for example, pending. So we just say pending. You need to find out exactly how it's getting sent over in the entity sync status, as we did with the custom field. And then on Salesforce, let's make that to working. Okay, so that exists. So we can go here to the hash map, we can say working. So we're taking the replica status name that's coming from Zendesk, and then we are assigning it to the hash map in the status of the case in Salesforce. Right, then let's close it, publish it. And then here we can say pending. And now, again, same thing happens. So now on Zendesk, outgoing sync is getting fired, replica is getting created. That replica is going to Salesforce, it's going to the incoming sync where this script is getting executed, and then eventually it will be updated in Salesforce. As we can see here, we have the status update. So you can see it's really easy and straightforward to work with Exhalate. Just need to configure the scripts. And your best friend will be the entity sync status, because here, let's do it on Zendesk for now. We can, so let's say 9.6, we can really see what is getting set in that payload. So you got the local replica and the remote replica. The local replica means, okay, what are we sending to the other side? The remote replica means, what is the other side sending us? So again, local replica, this contains what Zendesk is sending to Salesforce. Right. I hope this was useful. If there is any questions you have, please add them in the comments. Thank you so much for your attention, and I really wish you a great day. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.